Welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we are so glad to have you here. The House of Representatives recently passed groundbreaking legislation aimed at regulating cryptocurrency. Standing by to discuss these developments and the role of digital assets is Carlos Ivan Merino, New Jersey State Chapter President of Stand with Crypto. First, though, we are going to be focusing on a critical issue for New Jersey's coastline. That's the future of federal funding for beach replenishment. With shifting budget priorities in Washington, the Jersey Shore Partnership is urging policymakers to maintain robust support for these vital coastline protection projects. Joining us now is Grace Hanlon, Executive Director of the Jersey Shore Partnership. Grace, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
All right, so can you first start a little bit by explaining a little bit about why beach replenishment it is so critical for the Jersey Shore and what is at stake right now if federal funding is reduced?
Okay, well, first of all, the shore is our first line of defense in protecting infrastructure during a storm. When you have wide beaches, you're going to have less destruction when there's a nor'easter or a no-name storm or, God forbid, a hurricane. Wider beaches protect infrastructure. They don't happen naturally. They do go away over time. And so with the partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers and the state, we're able to do projects that are called beach replenishment that put the sand back on the beaches and create wide, robust beaches that protect people, lives, and infrastructure.
So a lot of people might recognize you because you used to be head of travel and tourism for the state. And when you talk about the Jersey Shore, I think, for myself anyway, often what comes to mind first is travel and tourism, going down to the shore. I'm not necessarily thinking from that meteorological point of view about how it is a defense. So can you just talk a little bit about also the economic impact as well as far as travel and tourism goes as well?
Okay. Well, when I was director of tourism for the state of New Jersey, it was one of the greatest honors of my career. I fell hard for this entire industry. You have these small mom and pop businesses from Cape May up to Sandy Hook, passed down from generation to generation, committing which are actually helping to foster amazing memories from generation to generation. We all remember our first time going to a boardwalk or a beach. So it's vital for the economy of New Jersey. Last year in 2024, we had 54 million visitors to our 4 coastal counties, and they spent over $24 billion. So people coming to the shore is really great for the economy of New Jersey overall. It's good for the culture overall, the wonderful memories that we have as children that we want to pass on to our children. But first and foremost, it is protection. Wide, robust beaches protect infrastructure and protect us when we have a bad storm.
Yeah. So you mentioned this long-standing partnership with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So can you talk a little bit about this collaboration and how it's historically benefited New Jersey's coastal communities?
Yeah. Sure. The Army Corps of Engineers, they're amazing. What they do is they survey the beaches. They stay on top of it. They look for hot spots. They see where erosion has taken place over the winter. And then they come up with the schedule of who's going to be next for replenishment projects. And they do it efficiently. Right now, beach replenishment pretty much is the only game in town in order to widen our beaches for safety purposes. So it is federally funded. And it is also, there's a match from the state, from the Shore Protection Fund, so that we have the funds available to keep up with these important projects that protect our coastline.
Yeah. Well, what about the current administration, their budget priorities? Do you see challenges? And can you talk a little bit about how the Jersey Shore Partnership is responding to potential shifts?
Sure. Well, listen, there's always challenges during transition. This is not new to the Trump administration. And I know there's a lot of news out there right now saying that it was cut from the federal fund. Of course, we're always concerned, period, no matter who the president is, that there's going to be a different shift in funding or a different way to access the funding. With that said, President Trump has been very positive with infrastructure projects. myself, national environmental organizations, we've been down in DC since April, speaking to our shore legislators at the federal level. And we feel very optimistic that we're going to get the funding. May it come down differently. It might not be in the appropriations bill that everybody was talking about last week, but it will come down a different channel, and you might have to ask in a different way. So we're optimistic and keeping really good conversations going with our federal partners down in DC and with the Trump administration.
Well, and you've talked about coastal protection. It's a bipartisan issue. So do you have any examples to share of how bipartisan support, drives successful outcomes when it comes to the Jersey Shore in the past, currently?
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you from my own experience, if we want to do these federal beach replenishment projects, you do have a 25% match from the state level. And we have something called a Shore Protection Fund, which as long as I've been involved with the partnership for at least 5 years, and as director of tourism, we've had bipartisan support in New Jersey from both Democrats and Republicans, protect our shore, protect our coastline, keep it resilient. So I give a lot of credit to all of our past governors and legislators for protecting our shore, keeping the Shore Protection Fund in place. And at the federal level, people have been protecting us. After Superstorm Sandy, we had bipartisan support to rebuild our beaches, do beach replenishment projects throughout the country. So everyone, I think it's not a partisan issue. People love the beaches. They want us to be safe for this generation and generations to come.
Yeah, and you've urged local mayors, leaders to really engage with lawmakers. So do you have specific actions that you recommend that they take to best advocate for their towns to get that support they need at the state and federal level?
Absolutely. If I were a mayor, I would say every quarter, every season, check in with your congressmen, with your senators, your state senators. Let them know how your beaches are doing. Let them know if there's a hot spot. Send them a photo. You can't assume everybody knows everything. There's a lot of coastlines in the United States, and the Army Corps is responsible for all of them, as well as our back bays and our channels. So keep those conversations going. Continue to thank them for funding the Shore Protection Fund, and let them know how your beaches are doing, and that you want them to continue to keep the beach replenishment projects going.
Yeah. I mean, the Jersey Shore, it isn't just a local gem, and you've said it, it's a national treasure. We had a TV show over it. How does its economic and environmental significance really make the case for sustained federal investment?
Well, first of all, the billions of dollars that you protect when a storm doesn't come barreling through your town, you can't put a number on that. But how about the safety? How about protecting the people from the shore? So it creates a natural barrier for safety purposes. You save billions of dollars in infrastructure that's not destroyed because you have a wide beach. For every $1 that's invested in beach replenishment, a tourist spends $400. It's like I said earlier, it's a $24 billion industry. And when it comes to the shore, no beach, no sand, no money. So tourists spend money, and that is a really good investment economically, and again, personally.
Right.
Many of us grew up on the Jersey Shore, and we want our grandchildren and great-grandchildren to enjoy our beautiful beaches.
And with things, costing more and more and more, it's so easy to get to the Jersey Shore as opposed to, taking a long trip further away as well.
Absolutely. And it gives everybody a chance to have access to the beach.
Yeah.
Regardless of your economic status. Walking on these beautiful beaches, it's priceless. And it supports the local businesses, the mom and pops, the pizza places, the t-shirt shops, the restaurants, the hotels, all of it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a wonderful asset to New Jersey and to the United States overall.
So looking ahead, what are some of your hopes for working with the Trump administration and federal leaders to just ensure the Jersey Shore remains protected and resilient?
Well, we're just keeping the conversations going respectfully. We're picking up the phone, talking to Congressman Van Drew's office, Senator Booker, Senator Kim's. I'm in touch with their chief of staffs. They're on it. This is a priority to them. And we're just going to keep the conversations going. Like I said earlier, we started this back in the spring down in DC with myself, with the Jersey Shore Partnership at the national level, with the American Shore and Beach Protection Association. We've been meeting with legislators, constantly talking to them, educating them on the importance of beach replenishment for protecting infrastructure and for the local economies and for the economy of the United States overall.
Yeah, what's their response been?
Great. I have got so many positive responses. I've yet to have a legislator tell me I am not going to support the Shore Protection Fund or beach replenishment.
Yeah. Well, finally, Grace, what can those living in New Jersey, residents, visitors alike, do to support the Jersey Shore Partnership, their mission, and really keep this issue on the radar of policy lawmakers?
Well, join the Jersey Shore Partnership. It's free, and you'll be kept up to date on what's going on in the legislature. If we need a call to action, then we'll be on our. You'll get an email alert to reminding you, please call your legislator and remind them that beach replenishment is important to you personally because it's protecting infrastructure. It's important to you because it's protecting your business. And let your local legislators know one phone call, one email, one text, sending a photo, it goes a long way. And the legislators will respond, but we need to know. They need to know that we're concerned and we need to keep front and center. And the bigger our organization is, the more supporters we have, the more clout we have when we go down to talk to the legislators.
All right, Grace, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We really appreciate talking with you and chatting with you and seeing you.
My pleasure. Have a great summer. Be safe.
You too. Thank you. Congress is taking its biggest step yet towards regulating cryptocurrency with new legislation aimed at stablecoins at the broader digital asset market. Joining me now to talk about what it all means is Carlos Ivan Merino, New Jersey State Chapter President of Stand with Crypto. Carlos, welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you for bringing me on.
Yeah. So this is called the Genesis Act, and it's being called a pivotal moment for the crypto industry. So for people who may not understand, can you explain a little bit about what this bill means and maybe even help define when you hear things like stable coins, why is this important and why is this such a critical step for digital assets?
Sure. So the Genius Act, pretty much it brings like a legal framework around what's called stablecoins. Now, stablecoins are coins that are backed by the US dollar 1-to-1. So one stablecoin is $1 US. So because we're like putting like a framework around stablecoins, what's going to happen is that it's going to require stablecoin issuers to back their assets with treasuries and US dollars. And the Genius Act is going to generate increased demand for the US debt and cement the dollar's status as like a global reserve currency.
So is it similar to the FDIC, how that protects money in a bank? Is that what Genesis kind of does when it comes to cryptocurrency?
So what the Genius Act, what it will do is that it's just going to, not only will it help businesses, but it's also going to help consumers. So the legal framework that is being created is something that is definitely going to create a lot of businesses and jobs within the U.S. and just make growth of the U.S. dollar stronger.
Okay. And there's something else called Clear Act. Am I correct? And that establishes, go ahead.
It's called Clarity Act.
Clarity Act.
Yes.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about the Clarity Act and how what does that do? It's a regulatory framework?
Yes. So that's also a regulatory framework, but as opposed to focusing on stablecoins, what that's going to do is it's going to focus on like cryptocurrency tokens, similar to that of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and several other tokens that are out there. And what it's going to do, it's going to establish like a regulatory framework for the digital asset market, and it's going to direct like the SEC and the CFTC to implement legislation through the regulation.
All right. So, but from your perspective at Stand with Crypto, can you talk a little bit about how the crypto industry's investment, you're spending a lot in advocacy, lobbying to really help educate and reach up perceptions to make sure that these bills can be legislative successfully. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So the reason why we are really pushing for the Genius Act and also for the Clarity Act, and the good thing is that the Genius Act has been passed and signed by President Trump, but now we're looking at the Clarity Act. But the reason behind all of this is when there is no regulatory framework, that's when bad actors can come in, and that's when people like you and me, we can fall into like certain schemes that are going on. You're always going to find bad actors, but with this regulatory framework, people will have to do regular audits. People are going to be held accountable. So this is a good thing, not just for consumers, but also for businesses that are looking for that regulatory clarity.
Yeah. The House also passed a measure that would prohibit a central bank digital currency. So, can you talk a little bit about and get your take on the decision and how it kind of aligns with the broader vision for cryptocurrency's role in the financial ecosystem?
Yes. So with the central bank digital currency, what that's trying to do is like where instead of us trying to create our own monetary, like instead of us creating the dollar, what we're doing is we're relying on, companies that have already established, currencies like the stable coin, and we would focus on that as opposed to starting up our own. And behind that, there is a lot of, there will be audits, there will be, also that regulatory framework that we need. So that's something that we're more focused on instead of creating something.
Okay. Here in New Jersey, from what I understand, New Jersey's been looking at exploring blockchain and cryptocurrency applications that would kind of modernize property records and reduce fraud. So, can you talk a little bit about these initiatives? So right now, I'm throwing out a lot of things in my notes and background that might be new terms that people haven't heard of. So, can you just talk a little bit about how these initiatives are being implemented realistically in New Jersey's government and that potential impact?
Okay. So what I can tell you with the deal that was struck recently with like the Bergen County and also with the company Balcony. I don't work for them, but like I can just give you a broad overview of what I do know. And when you take a look at like the blockchain is, think of it like a Google Doc where you're putting information on there. Once that information is there, it cannot be tampered with. So what Balcony and what Bergen County are doing, the Bergen County Clerk's Office, is that they're creating a digitized version of a property deed. So now with AI becoming this big thing, and also like scams, people are always trying to find ways to just come up with these bad actors come up with scams. Using blockchain as a verification tool will definitely help prevent any type of fraud. And on top of that, by digitizing everything, you're actually going to be saving money in the sense of, man hours. Because when you're putting together a document, it's going to take a lot of time. But by digitizing stuff, you'll be able to upload and it'll be done. And, there's just a bunch of ways that blockchain and government can work together, and it will streamline government services and also help when it comes to saving taxpayer dollars.
A lot of people might be listening here and thinking, okay, that seems, we in the quest to simplify, sometimes technology makes things more difficult. For those who might be kind of skeptical, thinking, oh, I don't know, digitize this and do that, doesn't that open it up for fraud? Doesn't it open ourselves up for more hackers? What can you say, again, because so much of what you do is about trying to inform, give perspective and context. So can you talk a little bit about people who may be saying, I'm not so sure about this. This seems like a lot of technology that could be vulnerable, that could make ourselves more vulnerable.
Yes. So the beauty behind blockchain is that it uses cryptography. And with that, you're able to wrap information or, any type of data, or, you can wrap in cryptography. And by doing that, you're keeping data safe and you're making it harder for hackers to try and take advantage. The problem right now is that there's a lot of systems that are in place that do not use any sort of cryptography. That you'll see two factors of authentication that are out there and different ways to keep things secure. But when you're using the blockchain, you know, it's very hard to tamper with.
Does it make it hard for people who are trying to access it to be able to access it? If I'm trying to do this, I might say, I don't even know how to access what I have to understand, even though so it has all these layers, as you're talking about, of security. What about from the user, the practical aspect of that?
So in regards to the user, I do know that there are ways that you can make things user friendly. And I'm sure that these entities that are working on these products are making sure that it's easy for people, regular people that don't know much about this, to be able to access it without having any problems. I would say 20 years ago, 10 years ago, that may have not been the case. But now, there's ways that we can simplify things to make it easier, because at the end of the day, what we want to do and what a lot of these companies want to do is they want people to use it. And in order for them to be able to use these products, it has to be, user friendly.
Yeah. We've been talking about what Congress is doing. What about in the state legislature? The General Assembly did pass a Digital Asset and Blockchain Technology Act that's regulating digital assets. So can you talk a little bit about what's happening here in New Jersey and the benefits for those living here?
So I would say that here in New Jersey, there's still a lot more that we can do. Like in regards to, like blockchain companies coming in, because one of the good things about New Jersey is that, we are right in between two major cities. You've got Philadelphia and then you have New York. And then us being in the middle, it's great. Like we are able to attract people. And the idea that I would say that, I have not seen, but it would be great for there to be, I guess, like a roadmap where we can attract more businesses, because, there is a little bit of a gray area. And some businesses, when New York created a bit license, a lot of businesses from New York came over to New Jersey. And, right now they're trying to figure out, should we stay in the state or should we leave the state? Because they're seeing other more crypto friendly states. There's like Wyoming, you have Texas, you have Florida. And that's something that we don't want. We want businesses here that we could put on the tax rolls. And the other thing that we'd love to see is that, by having more opportunities for jobs, New Jersey, when it comes to higher ed, we've got really, really good universities. You've got NJIT, you've got Stevens Institute, you also have, Seton Hall, Rutgers, Montclair State University. And instead of letting these graduates leave the state, why not find ways to keep businesses here and also allow them to hire the students that are graduating?
I mean, you are definitely touching on something that so many people discuss, and it's something that came up recently in the governor's race. It is a constant theme that we spend all this money on educating our students, and then they leave. Also, businesses, they go across the river to Pennsylvania, where taxes may not be as high, where there's less red tape. So can you talk a little bit about the next steps for the crypto industry and what challenges you foresee in fully implementing some of these reforms, particularly aligning with federal and state efforts like those here in New Jersey?
So I feel that within the next 5 to 6 months, we're going to get more like clarity on how to go about doing this, like how companies can go about, like establishing businesses here within the state regarding stablecoins. And in regards to the Clarity Act, I do like once that gets passed, I'm sure that we'll definitely see a more like I guess an influx of businesses trying to establish themselves here within the state. Because when I look at it in New Jersey, it has been working on its own, like trying to become industry friendly with blockchain. And I do see that it's just a matter of time before we'll see, New Jersey, I guess, try and do more for the industry.
Well, Carlos, we thank you so much for taking the time to break down something that for me it seems overwhelming and intimidating, but we appreciate the time that you took to help put that in perspective and give a little bit more understanding for what is going on and how it benefits the state. Thank you.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us to honor our dear friend, a trailblazer in literally every sense of the word, and the best partner in government I could ever ask for, former Lieutenant Governor and dear friend Sheila Y. Oliver. During our 6 years of partnership, I was constantly reminded why she was the ideal person to lead the office of Lieutenant Governor. After all, as Tahisha and Kim will attest, the single most important responsibility for any lieutenant governor is being ready to step up and lead the state on a moment's notice as acting governor if called upon. And that was a test that each of these women passed with flying colors.
And that'll do it for today. I'm Laura Jones. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.